Dear Savarkar, political realism and foresight has proved to be correct and unfailing. In 1925, Savarkar predicted that the separation of Sindhu from Bombay province for appeasing Muslims would prove to be a disastrous precedent and would destroy Sindhu Hindus and thereby annoy the aptitude of pan-Islamists. Savarkar foretold in his speech on August 2, 1942, a week before the start of Quiet India movement, that the political leadership of Gandhi and Nehru, which according to him lacked historical perspective, would end up dividing India on the basis of religion. Savarkar said that once Pakistan came into being, it would raise an army and always disturb the peace, industrialization, and the progress of India. Savarkar predicted wars with Pakistan. India has Punjab and Kashmir terrorism supported by Pakistan and the recent bombing in Bombay at sensitive strategic locations. In January 1954, Savarkar said that Mao had tricked Nehru over Tibet and that China would pull down the pillar of Panchashir at any moment. He also commented in the very 6 years In the very 6 years after 1947, China had equipped her whole nation with the most modern and up-to-date arms and without caring the least for feeling of India and had completely overrun Tibet and destroyed the only buffer state. Only other Indian leader to protest strongly against China takeover of Tibet was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He warned in 1941 about Muslim infiltration to Assam from East Bengal. India has 15 to 20 million illegal Muslims. 1 lakh of them in Mumbai itself have been acknowledged by the Maharashtra government. Thanks to Syed Sahabuddin and Gandhi Khan Chaudhry that Kishan Ghan and Malda district of Bihar and Bengal are open shelters for Muslims who are being converted into voters of India overnight. Lately, it is where Sakya is after Muslim voter in Assam and more voters for Congress can be created by importing Muslims from across the border. In 1910, on the way from the Andaman to India, Savarkar envisioned a naval base guarding the southeastern gate of India. In 1937, Savarkar expressed fear that Congress would one day troll Vande Mataram. Throttle Vande Mataram. Savarkar declared a warning about the fate of Kashmir in 1938. India has paid for ignoring his warning in the Third War, 3 wars, and the 3,000 Kashmiris who are made refugees in their own country are paying for it now. Now we see that each and every word of all his prediction was true to the most of it, and all Indians are still paying the price for overhearing his warning. Times of India, February 27, 1966, called Savarkar a rebel and revolutionary to the last breath. Savarkar was the first Indian leader to give the message of absolute political independence and unity to the nation, but the tragedy of Savarkar was that although he was a secularist, that to be to the backbone a great lover of science and strategy nationalist. He was rarely represented as an orthodox leader by those particle to Gandhi and Nehru. Savarkar said in June 1963 that it was ridiculous and irrational to follow astrology when Russian and American are striving to land on the moon and Mars. Earlier, Savarkar refused to consider a cow as holy and chose to call it only as a very useful animal. He was the first Indian leader to give India the message to secularism and modernism before the advent of Nehru and M.N. Roy. Savarkar was more rational than Gandhi, Cripps or Jayaprakash Narayan, and as rational as Nehru and Roy. He was an epic poet and a great rationalist. He was a great author of his age in India. His political realism and foresight proved to be correct and unfailing. Great men are sometimes obsessed with one idea. Likewise, Savarkar was obsessed. His critics say with the idea of Hindu militarization. He was not an imperialist for or militarized. It was his sincere desire that, having suffered slavery often, India should not fall a prey to any militarist and aggressive country. So many times in the history, the holy land of Hindus was destroyed and ransacked by horde of barbarians who were so inferior to them in language, religion, culture, philosophy, mercy, and all the soft attitudes of man and God, but superior to them in strength alone, the strength that summed up in two words fire and sword. It is in this sense that Savarkar wanted Hindus to militarize so never again shall their country be devastated. Savarkar was the foremost Indian leader to welcome the age, and he understood the economic equality is the inevitable outcome of the machine age. As regards the social equality, none of his great contemporaries, except Dr. Ambedkar and not even Jawaharlal Nehru, fought orthodoxy with such force as did Savarkar. Savarkar was called a communalist because he said that the principle of one man, one vote should be followed, which was then opposed to by Muslim leadership because he opposed Muslims, Malvis, and Christian missionaries trying to convert illiterate, ignorant, and poor Hindus. In every age, the nation that had access to superior force defeated the nation that did not have the advantage. Savarkar was the only leader in India who openly said that India should have accession to a superior device, weapon, or force. Savarkar held that justice would go down, it not backed by a superior force. A nation, however tolerant, just a cooperative, would go down if it did not match approximate the power of the surrounding nations. Lesson taught to India by China war the hard way. India should believe in noble principle for the progress of humanity, but keep her superior weapon ready for her own survival. This was the message of Savarkar to India. Whenever the natural process of national and political evolution is violently suppressed by the forces of wrong, then revolution must step in as a natural reaction and therefore ought to be welcomed as the only effective instrument to re-enthrone truth and right. You rule by we are not, and under the circumstance, it's a mockery to talk about constitutional agitation when no constitution exists at all, but it would be worse than a mockery when a crime, when there is a constitution that allows the fullest and freest development of a nation only because you gently dandy as a gun. We pick up a pistol only because you deny. As light, we gather in darkness to compose past means to knock out the fetter that hold only mother down. Through these words, we conclude today's listening. Thank you for listening.